be a little late because he's got to get the kids from school.
Okay.
That's what he said last night.
Okay.
Oh, okay. During this work session, you won't have to call this.
Okay.
That's what he said last night.
Okay.
Okay, Jolene, are we on? During this work session, you won't have to call this.
Okay. That's what he said last night.
Okay, Jolene, are we on? During this work.
Yes, we're live.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are kind of unexpectedly having our work session and our regular meeting and executive session via Zoom due to COVID experiences among some of our staff. So we apologize for any inconvenience that might be, but I will be turning it over to Justin O'Neill, who's going to give us a great, I guess, story about what's going on with our facility and with many of the newer items that where things are happening on campus, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, Justin.
And Randy, I'm going to snatch it before Justin takes it over.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay. Just as a reminder, we had a conversation with you and kind of even did a little bit of a tour across campus back in the fall when we were talking about the opportunities that we needed to address in moving and expanding our dining facilities and making the best use of the current facilities that we have, which would mean that the campus store would have to move. We have academic resource tutoring in that space, and therefore it's kind of a domino. Other things would have to move. Well, today you're going to see the proposal that we have for you, that those areas that Justin has met with everybody that's involved and had good conversations. He's going to show you plans that we hope you will support, because the goal here is to get a green light or a thumbs up so we can move forward with putting things out for bid and moving forward with the movements and the expansions of those projects that are internal and campus, so that those can get done as quickly as possible. And in some cases, utilizing some dollars that we have gotten through the American Recovery Plan Act, which are those HERF educational dollars for mitigating COVID. I will also say that this goes back to our campus master plan of several years ago when we looked at where things would be located. And while we're not constructing new walls per se or adding on to buildings, it is making those movements to where we had planned for some of those services to be provided in the hub of our campus. So you're going to see all of that. So anyway, I am going to ask Justin to come on and turn it over. He's going to share a screen, and as he does so, I just want to say thank you to Justin for his work in meeting with many different individuals that are involved in all of these moves and gathering all of this information, working with some architects, a couple of different ones, because it involves the dining folks and Rawlings. And so it's just really exciting. And Justin, thank you so much for your work. And you're muted.
So thank you very much. We'll jump right into it and we'll start looking at those plans. What we're going to talk about first is the kitchen in our dining services. So we'll make sure we give that a minute for that to pop up to you. But now this is a black and white plan. It does not have color or fancy things on it yet, so I apologize for that. But we'll do the best we can to highlight some things for you and give you kind of an idea of what we're talking about. In order to put a little perspective in it, we've talked about this. The dining hall is just the current kitchen space for our dining hall is not big enough to serve the capacity, and we found the best way to really limit the amount of money that we would have to spend is to be able to build in that same area. So to build upon some mechanical systems, electrical systems, things like that that are already there, and expand that so we have more capacity to serve more students, more people. The easiest way to do that is expand into what is currently the campus store, and find a new place for the campus store to go. So we'll get to that point, but I want to show and share the dining experience that we want to create. So to give your bearings on this floor plan, again, it's a floor plan, so we're looking above. We cut the roof off the building basically and looking down onto the floor of the plan. But what we're gonna do is the doors right here that you see right here, and hopefully you're seeing the little cursor there move. But those doors are pretty close to where the doors are for the existing bookstore. We're moving them just slightly, but to give you a bearing, so this is the north entrance this way, the north parking lot. So you're coming in the parking lot and right into the commons like you normally would. Where you would normally turn right and go into the campus store, you're now going to turn right and go into your new dining experience. And I say experience because it is completely different than what we have seen here at State Fair before. But we would walk in there. The cashiers would be right here. The students could swipe their card. They would have access to the dining hall. It's basically multiple stations in one circular motion. There's a central salad bar here in the center of the room. And then as you go across, there's different areas. So basically we've designed it so there would be like a pizza area. They could have by the slice, they can do some special things. They could potentially do breakfast pizzas. They'd have a central area here that would kind of be they could do a carving station. They can do some hot items there. They can also, I believe this well is one, we've got it where it's versatile. It actually can be hot station and cold station both. And as they go across, there's some areas where they can, more like a deli area. They can have sandwiches. There could potentially be an omelet station. And then you get into like the grill area. So the grill is actually right here. They can cook up hamburgers or chicken, grilled chicken, that sort of thing, and put it right into a merchandiser right there. There's a place for condiments and lettuce and other fixings for different sandwiches is available as well. And then as they come around, there's multiple drink stations. So there's two main drink stations. And then there's also some, coffee options, juice options, things like that we have a limited amount of right now. This expands it. So there's actually twice as many machines so that more people, and we can increase the capacity of the people we serve. This would also serve as kind of a dry breakfast area. So they could toast bagels there or whatever's on the menu there for Mike that day. So most of this area is being served by kind of kitchen area that's on the back side of it. So where people would stand in when they're getting their food, and they can actually see the person that's preparing their food as well. So the grill station has the grill and everything right here behind it. The sandwich area has a panini station and other kitchen equipment right there where they're fixing those items. The pizza area has the area where they're putting the toppings on, and the refrigeration space. All of that's right there and available for the cooks to prepare it right in front of the students. They can be making it, filling the salad stations and seeing what's going on. Nobody's back behind the scenes and having to run up constantly. They would have an ability to watch the dining services from here. Again, it increases capacity, lets us get more folks through the space at one time. I would remind you, in this space being the campus store, there's also some windows that are already in that space, so that lets that natural light shine through. It's not a dark, dreary place. Aesthetically, it'd be very pleasing. If you went back out to where the kitchen is right now, it actually expands out into the dining area at an angle, and that was added on after we built the first residence hall. So what we're proposing to do is take that area right now that it currently serves as a drink station, add some floor space capacity back to the commons so that we have plenty of room, plenty of seating. And what will become of that, what is currently their grill station and area where they're cooking, will actually become a dish room. So we can get away from our styrofoam and become a much more sustainable partner to the environment, and get away from the disposable utensils and everything that we have to use right now, because we actually don't have a place for the dirty dishes to go back to the kitchen without going through a clean area, which is just it's a health code requirement. So this creates a dish room here that we're able to do that. We're able to have a place for that to go on. The standard three sinks, the automatic dishwasher, and area for clean items to sit as well. What is currently the back of their kitchen will become a new back kitchen. We're going to revamp it a little bit, and what was a storeroom and office area will become some more back kitchen room. Our current provider does a lot of catering for us, for different events, whether it's in the Thompson Center or if it's a group coming in, meeting in the boardroom, a special group doing some training from, they may be in a classroom setting, but we're providing food for that event. Sometimes multiple events all at the same time. And they're tripping over each other, really not even, having difficulty with keeping up with those capacities. So this creates a back of the house kitchen that can help. Again, it can help support the front, depending on what they're doing. They can pre-cook things, but it also helps with their catering side of the house that is, again, supporting us and our mission and the things we're doing for our students and staff and faculty. On the backside, we currently have a fridge freezer in this area right here. It's a walk-in. And what we're proposing to do is we would leave that because there's lots of savings in leaving that, but we will modify it and make it either just a freezer or just a refrigerator. And then we would add one to the side of it that would be the opposite. So we'd have a full fridge and a full walk-in freezer in that back area, which is currently dry storage. So that dry storage would move around the corner. And this is an area that's the back of the bookstore that you probably don't see, but that's where they do their shipping and receiving right now. That would become a dry storage area. There'd be an area for them to have their office and any staff related things that they would need to keep. And then there's also an area to keep catering equipment, whether it's dishes, special dishes, special containers, carts, those sorts of things that they need to be able so they can move that food safely across campus. So that was a quick rundown of those plans that you're seeing in front of you. Are there questions about what that might look like before I get into how much that might cost us?
Justin, the dining area would remain pretty much the same.
It would. We would
the eating area, I guess I should say.
Yes, the eating area would stay the same, other than we would expand it a little bit back to the size that it originally was.
Yeah.
And we would add some tables in there so we could increase the capacity. Yes. Okay. So quickly, we'll jump over and talk about costs for that. I say quickly. All right. Can you guys see that Word document or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
We can see it now.
Thank you. So we're roughly talking about $100 to $125 per square foot for the mechanical, electrical, plumbing in that area, about 60 to 90 for the rest of the finishes. New construction, we're running anywhere from $200 to $215 a square foot, depending on, again, what finishes you put on and that sort of thing. But for the most part, we're not building any walls. In fact, we're cutting a couple of wall holes into a wall, but very minimal damage to any walls, structures. The floor slabs are all there. We have to, cut a few trenches here and there to add some piping and some plumbing. But for the most part, the full structure of the building is not being affected. We're not expanding. We're not adding foundations, that sort of thing. So that $160 to $200 per square foot cost for the kitchen, and it covers about 5,000 square foot in total. So roughly about $800 to $1 million for construction costs. The kitchen equipment, to fully equip that kitchen with all of that equipment as brand new, is in the $700,000 to $800,000 range. Now, what we did was we brought in a consultant to help us lay out all of that equipment, the space that it needs around it, worked hand in hand with our architect and with Great Western, the current contractor that provides the dining services, to lay all that out. Now, what we do know with that $700,000 to $800,000 is there are some things that we can take out. There are some pieces of equipment that we can reuse that we know we will get some more life out of still that aren't ready to be replaced. And we didn't take that into account yet, but we're going to. But I wanted you to see the big picture of this is the cost of that equipment to move it over. We also know that the restaurant business is fairly fluid, and there's opportunities to gain some gently used equipment in the market pretty easily most of the time. And between Great Western and I, we kind of keep an eye on those things, and we want to be savvy with some of those things and be able to bring some of that equipment in as well. There's also a lot of lead time on some of this equipment. So as soon as, if you guys give us the green light, we're going to be putting some proposals together, really going through the list of what we absolutely have to have and what we already have, so that we can get a bid out, so we can get things shipping our way. Because we have a small construction window for this project too, just so that you're aware. The kitchen needs to provide services up to the end of the semester. And then over the summer, the course of the summer, is our window for doing most of the renovations, especially in the existing kitchen. The space we're moving into, the campus store, where the campus store is, if we're able to move the campus store early, which is what our current plans are before the semester ends, we can actually gain some time in there demoing and things before the semester is over, which would improve the construction schedule. So we're talking a total cost of about 1.5 to 1.8 to improve our dining services to serve the capacity of the students that we have, both in the residence hall and for the employees and the commuter students that use it on a regular basis as well.
And if I can add, I would like to talk just a little bit about the funding, because I know that's a big number. I will say that I've mentioned to you in the past that we had been gifted an estate. Part of that estate is going into the Olin Howard Center for a naming opportunity, but there's close to $500,000 from that estate that could be applied to this, and it was supposed to be used for campus facilities. So I think it makes a really good opportunity. I've also talked to Mary about other named opportunities within the dining facility space, especially in the serving area. And we think that there's some opportunity to make some asks for potential donors to have named opportunities in that space. So while it could and would require some utilization of our reserves, which are healthy right now, we think there's other funding opportunities to also put into that.
Thank you. Are there any questions about those initial costs or to Dr. Anderson on the funding?
I know it's a sizable number, but when you think about the advantage and what we are going to be able to gain for our students, and Justin, I don't think you said it today, but as a reminder that our kitchen was designed to really be kind of a concession area and not to feed 250 to 260 students that we feed today in residence life. So this would enhance the whole student life and student experience.
Yes, and in fact, this whole back area of the campus store, as well as the kitchen where the current walk-in is, was an addition on after the building was built, after we actually added the residence hall, because the kitchen actually was built before the residence hall were. So, okay, if we're good there and there's no questions there, what we're wanting to do now is go back to the contractor to the architect, and we will get this into construction documents and get a bid out. It'll be kind of a two-part bid. One part will be the construction and finishes, and the other part will be for the equipment. And the consultant that we did use is actually a supplier too. So we know we at least have one guy that wants to bid on the equipment for the project as well.
And Justin, just to verify this was all done in sync with Great Western Dining, who currently has our college contract, correct?
It was. They were at the table the whole time
Yeah.
to make sure that, and then that's who will be partnering with me to kind of go through and analyze the equipment. So you're aware. So the equipment that is actually in the kitchen is owned by the college, and it always has been. The current contractor does allow in their contract to purchase so much equipment during that contract. But when those pieces are purchased, they actually then become an asset to the college. So all of that current equipment is ours, and any future equipment will be ours as well.
Just one other comment about that. Last year, you allowed us and you voted to extend Great Western's contract kind of year by year going forward. So we are currently in that process. There would be an opportunity to go out and seek a long-term contract with Great Western that could also potentially provide some support for this project.
Yes. Any questions, concerns?
Well, the layout actually brings us into current state
Yes.
of dining facilities with this food court type layout, because that's what I'm seeing at college campuses where I've been. And
Yeah, very similar to colleges, and even a lot of the hospitals have embraced this design
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it's so the concept and the design is actually probably what students are looking for as well, because that's what they encounter when they go to the mall, to the hospital, when they go to other campuses. This is what's going to be, that's what they're being offered in those locations.
Richard, that's a perfect comment. When this was shared with ELT, one of our members who's gone on a number of college visits with her daughter said exactly that, when you see this kind of a facility, it will really add to the student atmosphere and the student service that we're able to provide through food service. And it's a good product, and this will make it even better.
Okay. We will, if you're okay on that look, if there's no questions on that, then I'll switch over to, obviously we've got to find a place to put the campus store if we're going to build dining services in that space. So what we are proposing to do, and this is kind of a larger view, and then I'm going to zoom in so that we can see it. So just a little bit better, because I know I can't even read the words on that screen right now, but this one's got a little more color to it. It'll be a little easier to follow with me. But what we wanted to do was continue on a student-centered approach that we started with the Yater building in 2006, 2008, when that building was renovated. At that time, we renovated and took portions of the library and added a computer lab, and we added a tutoring center that was front and center. So when you walk in the lobby of the Yater building, which is right here, make sure I've got where you can see that. We're walking in right here, right behind the windows through the door is what is currently tutoring. So that's where our students can go get math assistance, writing assistance. And then Trio actually also uses some of that space, which is a student support program that we have here. And they use that space for tutoring their students as well. So what we wanted to do is we looked at that space and identified quickly. It was actually Dr. Anderson's vision that really got to looking at this space, that it would make a great space for the campus store to, when you walk in the lobby, to students easily enter, look at the retail space, and also have access to books, textbooks, computers, and other things that they need for their classes. We also wanted to continue on that synergy of the Learning Commons, which is why the Yater Centers, was named the Yater Learning Center. We had created this Learning Commons in that area, which was Trio was close to the tutoring, tutoring was close to the computer lab is close to the library. So what we're doing is we're still having all those services. We're just adding the campus store into it as well. And I think it pairs very well with those other services that we're providing students. So when you walk in the Yater, what we're proposing to do is you walk in and the campus store will take over the space that tutoring currently is in. That'll be their retail area. And then what was currently the computer lab is what we're going to take and put their stacks of books in their shipping area, because we actually ship out a ton of textbooks to students, whether they're extended campuses or online campuses, or some students just don't have the time to come by and pick them up, and they still just have them shipped to themselves. So we do a lot of shipping, so we want to make sure that is easily accessible for the staff to be able to do that as well. So what we've created is a space where we really don't have to build any walls. We have to adjust a few walls here and there, but we're using those boxes that we already created back in 2006 and 8 when we renovated this space originally. The doors are already there. They already have glass in them. They're already a storefront look to them. There's already an office space there for the director and their office staff to use. The other staff that work in the campus store will be utilizing kind of an open space concept where their desk will be out in the back where the textbooks are. They'll have the flexibility. The doors right here between the retail space and the textbook area are actually storefront style doors too, with glass in them. So if there were times, excuse me, that they wanted the public to have access to the area, they could easily do that at beginning or before semesters, if that makes more sense. They've experimented back and forth since COVID in closing some of that stacked area and changing their processes of how students pick out books and how they prepare those things and have them ready for students. And for the most part, I believe that it's worked much better where staff are doing that. Students come in and pick up their books, and they can spend their time browsing the retail area and find their fanware or their favorite, their sports team, or work on getting a laptop, because we've got the ability for them to do that right there in that campus store. One thing we are adding is a dressing room space for the programs that have uniforms. The campus store is the source for those. They used to have to kind of take them in groups and go to the restroom, but we easily have a space here. We can add a dressing room. They can take care of that right there in the store. Just makes the process easier for the student and for the staff that are trying to take care of them. So in doing that, again, you see the theme here. We kicked the campus store out to increase dining space. We've moved tutoring and the computer lab out to move the campus store in. So what we've proposed doing is coming into where the library enters right here and pushing the library entrance back, taking some space out of this front corner of the library and a couple of offices right here in the front that are actually currently being used by faculty. And we will replace those offices too. We'll get to that, but that'll be a new tutoring center. So let me switch to this other one to make sure we can see that space. A little bit zoomed in a little bit. So as you're walking into the lobby, this will still be a continuation of the lobby. You'll see double doors into tutoring. You'll see double doors into trio. The campus store double doors are back here. Excuse me. And then we'll have new double doors that'll go into the library. So again, that synergy of the learning commons, there's an area, the Olin Howard Cafe is around the corner, which is an area that students can sit, plug in laptops. We've sold some concessions type things there before from the campus store. So if we elect to start that back again, it'll be much easier. The campus store is right there. We can service that again, providing options and amenities to the students. This purple area again is just it's connecting all those services, and we're not talking about hard walls that divide space more. We're talking about space that's more storefront style, lots of windows. You can see in from the hallway into the space. So this actually feels more like a modern corporate office or a modern building that just, or even, Richard, you mentioned the mall, even like the mall style where you're walking down, but you can still see into the store from the walkway. to attract students into those spaces. And when the students are in those spaces, they don't feel like they're confined and in a tight, narrow area. It really will be an aesthetically pleasing space. They can easily point them from Trio over to tutoring, and from tutoring over to the library, and from library back over to the campus store. Easily, the staff and the faculty can give directions to students, and the accessibility for all those things is right there. What we're proposing to do with the computer lab is it's a very underutilized space. Students are carrying their own devices to the extent that they don't need the computer labs that like we used to. We've run the data with the IT department, and what we find is the best suited idea is to take some of those computers, put them in the library like we do in public libraries. Excuse me. And once the student needs an access to a computer, if they don't maybe initially have one when they start the semester, they just need some quick access for some research, they've got the ability to jump in and use that space in the library. And we'll have some stations and some kiosks set up in there where they can do that and still be productive students. For the library's sake, the library, back when we did our master plan in 2015, we identified that the library had some additional space that wasn't fully utilized. Excuse me. So that space is not being utilized to the extent we want to find ways to use it for the students for the best, which is why we want to expand these programs into that space. Trio was a natural fit to go along with this move too, again, for that synergy for all of these programs. They have space, office space on the other side of the current tutoring space. Let me switch to this bigger one. They currently have offices over here on the other side of what is tutoring right now, but they utilize some of the space in tutoring for their tutoring program. So they use the same space, but it's separate tutors, it's separate grant funding, that sort of thing. So we needed to recreate that. Well, it made the most sense to completely move Trio's offices and everything, join their tutoring back into their program, and again, be close to the campus store and the other operations that we've got going on. So what we've done is we've added them right onto the edge of the store into space that's currently the library space. So these spaces in here, we've talked out with those staff, we've met with them. It's not to the point of, yes, that's exactly where that wall is going to be, and that's where, you know, those two offices are definitely side by side, but what we know is that square footage is close. It is they're in relationship to each other, and we'll be able to make some final tweaks with those staff, but we've put the number of offices that they need in there. We've put most of them in relation to each other, and we'll have the ability to adjust those. We've got some features in there that we'll talk out with them, but there's, you know, access to go straight from tutoring or some Trio straight into the library, so they could go jump on the other computers if maybe the computers that they have in their space are already taken. And in the library itself, so I'm going to jump out to this bigger one for a minute. The library itself, our circulation desk is here. So we were trying to stay away from having to move that. It's a nice synergy still to the center of the library, and it's good functionality. So when somebody comes in the library, they'll still have a quick straight view of the circulation desk. So if they have questions and need help in their research or whatever they're looking to find, they can still go straight there and get the assistance that they need. The other thing about the library is libraries are truly being called learning commons now. And so that's where that learning commons verbiage is coming from. We used it in 2015 when we built the master plan and started talking about the excess space in different areas, and being able to, you know, the libraries are changing on campuses. Books are becoming electronic. The stacks the number of books that we keep in our library is shrinking because we have access to so many libraries through different programs, whether it's online or loan assistance, where we trade books back and forth. And all schools are going through this. So we want to stay up with what the library is becoming, which is that learning commons. It's access to things like Trio, access to things like tutoring, access to computers if they don't have them with them. Another thing that they use in the library is they use it for study space. So if they're not in the Olin Howard cafe up front or on a bench in the hallway or the lobby, then they're in the library and some of the space that's in the seating that's in there. What we have discovered though is the seating in there is outdated. We didn't replace it in 06 and 08 when we renovated in that building. We still have late 1970s furniture. Some of it is wore out. Some of it is just, it's not functional for how the students study today. And with the being able to plug in devices, and we need to catch up to that so that we're making sure that the student experience is as best as possible. The other thing they utilize a lot is these study rooms that we have along the west side of the building. So different groups may come in there. It could be a group of nursing students. It could be a group from one of the biology classes working on a project. It's places that the students can go and collaborate and come up with either a project or study together, but they're not disturbing anybody that may be in the library space and needing the quiet time and quiet space. So what we're proposing to do is add on a couple more of those rooms in that space to enhance. And again, we're just talking about a couple of walls, a couple of doors, nothing crazy exciting. We've tossed around the idea of making that maybe just a little bit bigger even, but still mostly the same amount of wall linear feet. The other thing we would do to the library is their existing entrance on the back. They have two entrances on the back side. We would slide that a little bit to the west as well. That would allow us the ability to add on a couple more offices. And because of offices that we're vacating where tutoring is going, we needed to be able to at least replace that space somewhere. There's a nice fit right up there naturally, along with a work area. So we're in talks with some deans. Basically, I've created the space, but where everybody actually will land as far as who is in those offices, we've got to hash out those details, but there is enough offices with Trio moving out of their 4 offices in the suite over here into their new space, creating a couple new offices over here. We've created the space to make up for things that we've taken away. And at the same time, try to enhance the total student experience. That was a whole lot. So I'm happy if there's questions or if you need a little guidance on where exactly we were talking about. But I wanted to make sure that you get the reasoning of why we created what we created.
Justin, what about the planning and the challenges with the things that are shipping into your bookstore? Because now you don't have an outside wall to.
Yeah, so we have a plan for that. Currently, the current campus store does not have good access for us to bring a pallet of books into it. So we actually bring them into the theater, and then they take them from there and process them into the store because of the limited space. So what we were proposing on here is we actually have a shipping room back here on the backside. So things will be able to come in the south entrance of the building and come straight in here to the bookstore. On the occasion that we have the pallets, which the pallets of things are usually only kind of twice a semester type thing. We've already talked with the theater, and there's a garage door on the Black Box Theater, if you don't recall, from when it was originally a news broadcast area. And so what we're going to do is anytime we have to process those pallets, which is only a couple of times a semester, those we would process actually through the theater. We would just do it in the Black Box Theater this time instead of the main theater in Stoffaker. Any other questions? All right, so I know you guys want to know cost too. So we've ran some cost estimates on that as well. Talking that $100 to $120 a square foot for the work is what we're estimating over about 3,000 square foot. Excuse me, I apologize for that. The construction cost range would be in the $300,000 to $375,000 range. That's for the tutoring and trio space to add on into the library. Again, we already have the floor, we already have the ceilings, we have wall structures, we have to add a few wall structures. And we've run some estimates on the campus store based on reusing those walls and reusing the fixtures and that sort of thing. We put a cost estimate of about 40 to 50,000 on that. Some of that will actually be done in-house. We can do that with our team, our maintenance team, and then we can bring alongside some local contractors or contracted work, such as some of our service providers, electricians, HVAC. Yeah, really HVAC is fine, but electricians as needed to add a few display lighting and things like that to that store. We're going to reutilize the counter that's already in there in tutoring, and we'll save the counter that's coming out. So as they are using that space, if that doesn't work, we've got the old counter that we can go back to and bring it in if needed. So again, that's about a 40 to 50,000. Our proposal is basically we've secured some space in the Yater already. We can move Trio this semester still, or excuse me, we can move tutoring out of their current space into that temporary space in a classroom, and go ahead and start moving the campus store over before the end of the semester, so that we could start on that dining services project before the end of the semester, and then focus on the kitchen there during the summer months. Questions on those dollar amounts, figures, where we're coming from? Again, the funding, I'll let Dr. Anderson speak to if there's questions on that, but we ran those numbers actually yesterday just to make sure that we're, things haven't changed too much. Yes, COVID has affected things. Supply chain things are a little wonky, but we believe most of the things that we're looking for won't be too affected by that, other than the equipment that we would need for the kitchen.
So I'll just jump in with a couple of comments that came up with leadership, and the fact that this is just a really exciting opportunity to develop the learning commons, to really bring all of our Trio program into better synergy. They've got walls that kind of separate them now, and this would give a better flow to the Trio program. And also the academic tutoring, it doesn't diminish it, but it really brings the synergy of all of that together. We're really excited that students could also utilize the campus store while it's right there front and center. And, the library, learning commons, they're excited too. So I compliment Justin on meeting with each of the various areas, identifying the square footage that they needed. Like he said, it will be more fully developed with another meeting or two to understand exactly how many tables and chairs and so on they need. But we wanted to have this conversation with you today because obviously it will take some of our college reserves to do these projects. Like I said, there is a funding opportunity, and we have about $500,000 that could go to the project in total, and hopefully a named opportunity there in the dining, in the kitchen area. But I know Keith is in this meeting. He's just not visible. So I thought it would be good if he came in and talked to you if you have any questions at all about utilizing college reserves. He's here and can answer those questions, but our reserves are the healthiest they have been since I've been president and even before. And so if we're going to do this, now is a good time. The cost also is reduced. If we were to build new square footage to do this, it would be much more expensive. So we think it makes the best utilization of the spaces that we have to do all of this enhancement.
Let me jump in a second, if you don't mind. One thing also, the reserves we have now, and those will probably increase again a bit this fiscal year. And the goal of reserves is to do exactly what we're doing, and that's use them strategically, wisely, to increase the student experience on campus, which in turn increases the favorability and likelihood of students attending here and being successful here. We feel very strongly that when we do improve the dining experience that we have, that there's a very strong probability we'll gain some more casual diners that we don't get now. Those students come by, they see it, they buy a meal here or there, and that increases, is actually something that we don't get a lot of now, is a casual diner. More and more faculty and staff dining there. The experience just lends itself to, why would I go off campus or bring my own if this is available there? Same thing with the campus store. It'll be much more central to a primary quarter of students going in and out of the college. Right now, to go, if you're going to see the campus store, it's a destination. You have to make an effort to go there if you're not dining there. And remember, of the several thousand students on campus, only 250 actually enter and eat in the dining area. So most students never enter that building, which sometimes we have to remind ourselves of. But yet going into where the library gate, all that lobby is a main corridor. So they'll be seeing the campus store. It will be merchandised much better, have better space. So there's a lot of good going on here for the benefit of the college beyond just the aesthetics of bringing the students in. But from a reserve standpoint, from Dr. Anderson's point, we have sufficient reserves. And I think it would be, my recommendation and discussion with you that we do use some of those reserves strategically right now to do some improvements that we're doing. I think it will have a very good long-term benefit for us as we remember that, like it or not, we are in a competitive environment and we need to have things that attract students. And we know that dining is far and away, even if a student never dines there, they like to know that it's there and it stands out to them. Even if they never enter the campus store, they see it and it brings that sense of belonging, that sense of branding that we need, that sense of pride of having it available should they need it. So I guess it's kind of give a little one, thank you, Justin, for this. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, for looking at it. And I guess a part of your discussion as you think about where we spend some of the funds we do have as to what might help this be a good spend of that money.
The last thing I want to add, Randy, before you all kind of discuss and give us a thumbs up if this is something we can move forward with, is that this does go back to our strategic plan and our 6th strategic priority, which is to optimize institutional health. And we have an objective that says to provide an inviting and functional campus through expansion and maintenance of facilities. And the first objective there is to implement the campus master plan. And this does pieces of that campus master plan that previously were going to take new construction that we're finding a way to make possible through the current space that we have.
Okay, thank you. A couple of questions. One, Keith, looking at the numbers you mentioned, or I think Dr. Anderson mentioned that we need to, I'm sorry that is ringing. Will there be any of the dollars available with any of the funding from COVID for pieces of this total project that we'll be able to use in addition to the 500,000 from the estate?
Yeah, let me expand on that. So within the regulations and directions for utilizing HERF funds, it is clearly called out that they are allowed to be used for the expansion of congregate dining services, which would be the build out of the space. Probably not be able to use it to purchase the equipment per se, but the actual expansion of the space in the dining area so that we are creating separation of the students when they are, getting their food and eating their food. That part of the construction, which is very much allowed by those funds. So the answer is yes, a fair amount of it is probably, if you think about it, it'd be probably architectural services, all the build out, all the pulling, all the plumbing, all that is, but probably everything except the equipment would be, I'd say, is qualified under how they describe it.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then Justin, a question I wanted to ask you on, we've all kind of talked about it, and I know you're very aware of it, but in making these moves into the different areas, are we looking at, I guess, bringing a new ambiance to the campus in these specific areas rather than just moving, the existing bookstore to a new geographic space? I mean, the look, the dynamics of wherever it is, the the dining hall, all of that. Is that going to be taken into consideration?
Yes, absolutely. The
Okay,
aesthetics of everything you're gonna see are new, improved, fresh, and very inviting for
Yeah.
our students.
well, it seems like with what we're doing, we've got the potential there to basically make brand new space out of old space without the cost, and that's kind of exciting. And as we all know, students, like, like Keith just mentioned, they kind of want it to look good. And so I just wanted to verify that was in the mix. Okay,
Just a reminder, the COVID funds, we have to utilize those yet in this year. And so we would need to, that's one of the reasons we need to move this forward as soon as possible so that we can take advantage of any of those funds that are not directed elsewhere. And Keith can mention, but I think those have to be expended by June, or maybe it's the end of May. So we got to get moving, and but there are costs that we've incurred right now that we could put toward that with this dining plan. And then obviously, as Justin said, there are just windows of opportunity because we have to, it's a rolling thing. Justin has identified a space where the tutoring center could be relocated in the short term. We would get the campus store moved. So Justin, you might just talk about timing here. We've got just 2 or 3 minutes before we have to take a break.
Yeah, what we had described was the tutoring space could move before actually here in the next month or so. We've given them a heads up that it could come quickly, depending on you guys' approval of us moving forward. What that allows us to do is immediately start, changing some light fixtures out, making the improvements in that space for the store to be ready to move over as well. Get that fresh look on the store, move the store over before spring break so that they're fully operational and ready to go before before students start re-enrolling for summer classes or even the fall classes. So if they come in and want to get the books early, they know exactly where to go. We also kind of want the students that are here to know where to go in the fall when they're coming back. So, that just helps that the student experience as well. Oh, they already know, hey, we've got a new bookstore, and they know exactly where to go as they're coming back in the fall. And as we move into that, we do have a few challenges, hurdles to get over. So the Upward Bound program that we bring on campus over the summer does normally utilize the commons in the kitchen area. So we will have to get creative in how we feed them. And Dr. Bates and I were discussing that the other day, and I told him I had a few options up my sleeve of places we can go and talk to folks about still being able to use some kitchen space to continue that experience, because we don't want to interrupt that experience that those students have on our campus. So
I have a question in regards to
please.
cost. So on our costs that we're showing the range here, that's if we have to buy everything, pay for everything, that, I know we've talked about potential naming rights. Is there a potential of, let's say a Duke donating some of the dining equipment, or, is that potential still out there? Are we exploring some of those avenues as well, or is that kind of figured in that range?
It's not figured in that range. So we were figuring in all new kitchen equipment in that range that I provided there, that 700,000 to 800,000. With knowing that we still have to reevaluate some of our equipment that we know we still have life left in, that we've purchased in the last couple of years, that will move over. We'll take those off of that list. We just wanted to make sure we had the full list as we're going and planning the electrical space, the plumbing space, all of those sorts of things. So it's just easier with the consultant, say, put it all in, and we'll start taking it off once we're ready to put the proposal out there. Dr. Anderson had mentioned that her and Mary and the foundation have already had some initial talks about some naming rights for the spaces and potential donors that might want to donate equipment and things like that. And so those are not figured into that. I wanted to be able to talk high level numbers, and then hopefully we deliver it under what we're estimating. There are the soft costs that are not included are some of the architectural fees, but those are some of the architectural fees that we've mostly talked about already and brought to you to get to the point that we are today. So.
Randy, you're muted.
Well,
So,
I'm just-
okay, sorry, if there aren't any other questions concerning this new project, we need to take just a quick break if anyone needs to, so that we'll be ready to start our meeting here in a little bit, but we'll go from there.
So obviously, since I don't hear any concerns, we weren't asking for a vote, but we will put together bid packages of what we need to do, move those forward, and then those bid packages will come back to you for approval.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, yes. Joanne, can we just stay on, we don't need to book out and then go back in, do we?
Yeah, I would go ahead and mute, and then when you come back, we'll start the meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll try to take just a couple of minutes here. My phone rang and it sounded. Not right there. I couldn't. What?
You want some voice lozenges, Randy?
I'm not sure if all these people are here. I know some of them may be off video.
Yeah, it tells me my video is disabled by host. So I think Joe Lynn kind of hit some of us during that break.
Oh, okay. There's Richard.
There we go.
There you go. Tim. Hello. There's Nick. Okay. Well, hello again. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome everyone to our Zoom January Board of Directors meeting for State Fair Community College. And I appreciate everyone kind of getting along with the inconvenience of doing this via Zoom, but COVID kind of plays a role in some of the things that we do right now. Welcome to any of our visitors that might be joining us via Zoom. And I do once again want to thank Justin O'Neill, who has given us an extensive report on some of the changes that we'll be doing possibly to the campus store, to the library, and to some of the other areas. And Justin, again, thank you for all of your work on that effort, and we appreciate it. And it looks like it'll be an exciting and a nice improvement for the campus. So officially, I'll call the meeting to order. You have an agenda in front of you, and I'll need a motion and a second. And then Jolynn, because it is Zoom, we'll need to do a roll call vote.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Jolynn, do we have any citizens' comments?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 4 will be the approval of the minutes for the December 21st meeting. And you have been sent a copy of that. I'll need a motion and a second.
Motion we move.
Second.
Jolynn?
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Acuff, the warrant.
All of you have the warrant in your package if you're okay referring to that. Otherwise, I can share my screen, but I'll go to that. During the month of December 2021, I'll put me on video here just so everyone can see me. I got you, Jolynn. We dispersed $4,875,041. Of that, $1,291,536 were payments to pros contractors for the Olin Howard Workforce Innovation Center. That leaves about approximately $2.24 million in accounts payable, $963,000 roughly in payroll, $206,000 in payroll taxes on that, financial aid and refunds $115,000, utilities of $51,000, credit card processing fees of $32.64, and a $15 fee to Equity Bank for the 4875041. So you're like your approval on those disbursements.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Jolynn?
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, Dr. Bates. We see we're going to need to do an approval for programming.
In your board packet, thank you and good afternoon, everyone. In your board packet, there's some explanation. We're at the tail end of our curriculum review process for the fall 22 catalog. So every other year we publish a new catalog and really have some intensive curriculum review as part of that process. Board policy requires board approval for the addition or elimination of programs or certificates. And so we're coming forward to ask for your approval for the elimination of a certificate and an associate applied science degree. Both the certificate in general education and the associate applied science degree in paraprofessional have been inactivated for a number of years. And so we currently have no students in those programs. And if you approve the elimination of these programs, then we would submit the request to the state to eliminate those programs, then the Higher Learning Commission, and then the Federal Department of Education. So it's a whole process to eliminate programs. The certificate in general education, several years ago, there was a rule change and that certificate was no longer eligible for Title IV funding. Title IV funding is federal financial aid. So we did not want to have a program that was not eligible for federal financial aid. So we immediately inactivated that program and started moving those students out. And the second program that we're bringing to you to eliminate is the Associate Applied Science and Paraprofessional. This was a program to train people to work in school districts as paraprofessionals or substitute teachers. And it was kind of started when those were new positions in school districts and training was needed. Now school districts are hiring people with just the community college credits, and there's not much demand for it, and it doesn't meet other criteria for viable programs. We inactivated that program as the demand waned and moved those students out to other programs as well. So both these actions would have no impact on existing students. So that's our recommendation. If you, I'm open to any questions if you have any.
Does it affect staff or any faculty, or are we pretty much
No,
not
neither
using
one-
these programs at all?
That's a great question. Neither program had dedicated staff for. The general education just was a package of general education classes. And the paraprofessional program primarily utilized our education classes for that associate applied science degree. So there's no dedicated staff.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
Okay. Jolynn?
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Anderson, you are
Yes.
next for some policy and regulation revisions.
Yes. Well, in your board packet under tab 7, you have policy 0110, which is the college name and identification codes. When you approved the change of our legal name to the Community College District of Mid-Missouri, we are now cleaning up a policy that references that name. And so that is the recommendation for that policy, that you just go ahead and approve us changing the policy to incorporate the new name. And then the other change is pertaining to another 0100 regulation, which is under the purview of college and administration, but it's regulation 0510. And this previously, it talks about how we formulate policy and who can approve that and what approvals are required. And so under adoption, it's on page 2 of that. We are asking for approval to remove the board from being required to approve personnel regulations. And I'll tell you the reason for that is that this has been in place a really long time, and I don't think we had a real transparent process back in the day when the board approved all policy and then all regulations pertaining to personnel. But we have college council now that we vet policy and regulations through. They have approved all of these changes you're hearing today for policy and regulation, in addition to the executive leadership team, and we put them out for comment to employees so that we can get feedback. So that process is established and we do that. So we are recommending that the adoption policy read, the adoption of regulations to govern operation of the college is the responsibility of the executive leadership team, and strike the with the exception of personnel service regulations, which needed to be approved by the Board of Trustees. And I would entertain any questions you might have about that. So our recommendation is that you approve the updates to policy 0110, the name change, as approved by a resolution with a unanimous vote. As stated in the new policy, the official name of the district shall be the Community College District of Mid-Missouri, and the college shall continue to be known as State Fair Community College. And it is also recommended the board approve the change to regulation 0510 that would strike the last of the sentence that requires the Board of Trustees to approve personnel regulations. You would still approve all policy.
Okay. Do I hear a motion and a second for accepting those changes?
So move.
I'll second.
Jolynn?
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8 is dealing with personnel service policy, and Rachel Dawson, I see you are going to give a report on that.
I am, if I'm allowed to. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, hold on now. Jolene's allowing me to be seen. Okay, it is recommended to the Board of Trustees approve revisions to the personnel policies 4550 and 4740 and the addition of regulation 4740, which pertain to personnel retirement. So the background on that is we revised some of the policies a couple of years ago. And at the time, my mistake, I wasn't aware that we had, I say we, State Fair, had their own retirement policy and process outside PSRS. So I kind of combined those policies, and that created a lot of confusion. So we went back and cleaned that up and kind of deleted out the language that referenced the old SFCC retirement process. That went away, I think, back in 2011. So it has been gone a long time there, and it was referenced in there of when it went away. We thought it was fair time that there'd been enough notice that we could go ahead and just take it out completely. And so with that, we cleaned up the language for retirement, explained the notices that employees should be giving both staff and faculty, and the process that they would go through for retirement, as well as retirement compensation and benefits. So those are two separate sections now. So 4740 is actually an addition, but that brought all of that information together in one spot. So somebody going through the policies would be able to see the retirement information and the steps all in one spot.
Okay, and that's both of these, 4170 and 4550?
Yes. So 4550, I believe, talks about the retirement compensation. And then 4740 was the part that actually talks about the retirement, the process itself. So, you know, what kind of notice you give and the steps that you would go through in the retirement process. For example, we did ask, we typically, if you guys remember, we don't have any early penalties or, penalties for ending your contract early, but we do ask employees if they're going to retire. If we ask faculty, that would they keep that to a mid-year, so that would be the end of year 12/31, or an end of contract. So those are the two options as far as the process. So it outlines when they should give us notice so that we can plan for those retirements. So a September 1st notification if they want an end of calendar year retirement, which would be a mid-contract, or a February 1st if they want an end of contract retirement, which could be either May 31st or June 30th, depending on what kind of contract they're under.
Okay, and basically these are cleaning up areas, and then they have been reviewed by.
They have, yep. They went
appropriate
through college council, and they have been out for read with the campus community, the college community, over the last week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I think.
Okay. Okay. I'll need a motion and a second. And if anyone has any questions, we can ask Rachel at that time.
Motion
Your
we move.
motion?
Oh, motion we move?
Second,
And then Randy, I have a question just for clarification, if I could.
Okay, sure.
Rachel, under staff, it says application for retirement is a minimum of 3 months prior to the planned retire date. Has
Yes.
that always been the policy, or is that something new?
So we actually had a period where we asked for 4 months, and then there was this is kind of what brought this up, is there was some confusion because we had a staff request that I think it was like 6 weeks notice. And I pushed back on that. And then when Dr. Anderson and I spent some time looking through this, that's kind of where we really discovered a lot of the confusion. So at that time, we discussed that we felt like 4 months maybe was a little too much. We talked about the time that we need to coordinate with the retirement system. For example, if it's an hourly employee, their final pay doesn't happen. So for example, like if their last day is the 15th, they would get a final paycheck 2 weeks later, at the end of the month, but they wouldn't actually get their vacation payout until 2 weeks after that. So there's a process and a timing that it takes to get all of that pay calculated and make sure that it's factored into the retirement calculation. So again, after this conversation, it has not always been 3 months. It actually had been 4 months since I've been here, but that was not in the policy. So we compromised and put 3.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, Jolynn?
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
yes.
Okay. Mr. Acuff, looks like you're going to make a recommendation concerning the Olin Howard Center.
And this is the fun part. As we are nearing the completion of the Olin Howard Workforce Innovation Center, we need to start putting some furniture in there so people have places to sit and to learn. So in December, we issued a bid for furniture for the Olin Howard Workforce Innovation Center. We did receive 3 bids. So it is recommended the Board of Trustees to accept the bid from Commercial Concepts and Furniture of Independence, Missouri for the OET classroom, office, the welding lab, precision machining lab, and lobby furniture in an amount not to exceed $72,771. You have a spreadsheet that shows you the bids from Commercial Concepts and the 2 other bids for the total of the 3. Funding for this, for all the furniture that's going into precision machining classrooms, precision machining area is going to be paid for by the MOEX Sales 2 grant. And then for the furniture going to welding areas in the lobby, those are from loan proceeds. So we are ready to go. We had the bid. Dr. Anderson and the folks in those areas have reviewed them, looked at the furniture, and all very happy with the bid that we did receive from the low bidder, who is the winning bidder of Commercial Concepts.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do I hear a motion and a second?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Jolynn?
Jolynn, they can't hear you.
Sorry, I couldn't get my thing to change. Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Anderson, would you like to give your report at this time?
I would, and thank you very much. And I just want to thank Joe Lynn for facilitating and for all of you being available to participate in this Zoom meeting. And I really appreciate it. I felt like I was a little rusty, but you all did a great job. So thank you very much. I wanted to give you a report on our spring enrollment. This week's report showed that we are down just a little over 3% in credit hours and head count. So our folks have been working really hard to get people into 12-week and second 8-week classes, and they did catch up some when we were a little further down than that. And that's over the same time last year. I also wanted to compliment our Boonville folks, and especially our site director, Bethany. They have been working with Kawasaki, which is moving their headquarters into that space, or at least taking over space there. Shouldn't say headquarters, but they needed to utilize our campus for some things, and they've been working really hard. Kawasaki will be coming to campus with their team in February, and we're going to give them a warm welcome. And Michael Rogg is excited about that because they will begin to participate with our advanced manufacturing advisory group, which is really moving forward that concept of a center of excellence in advanced manufacturing. Also, I just give a shout out and compliments to Justin O'Neill. His report was awesome about the improvements and enhancements we're going to be making, but he and his team have also been working on the surgical tech classroom space. We're bringing that program, it's being brought on new, and that is at the Clinton site. And so that is moving forward as well. He didn't mention it, but that is moving on. Also, just wanted to tell you that we recently, I think last week or so, got word from our theater program director, Ryan Mahana, that we had students who performed extremely well as we submitted them for awards. So the Kennedy Center of American College Theater Festival, it's a national theater program that involves over 18,000 students. We submitted our programs from last year, our 2021 productions, and we had 14 Certificate of Merit awards given to our students. So that was truly phenomenal. So a tremendous accolades to our theater program. We always begin our executive leadership team meetings with what's the good news of the day. And I just have to share that this last meeting on Tuesday, there were 3 examples given of when I really say that our faculty and folks on campus went above and beyond to help students. So I just want to give a shout out. But we had a family member reported on how complimentary they were of the speedy reply that instructors had given to their student, and was, really pleased. The student had sent an email to a faculty over the weekend, not expecting a reply until Monday, and they got a reply very quickly. And so, that just says that our students are, they get more than they expect sometimes because our faculty really try to be responsive. Another case was that we had a transfer student from a community college outside of Missouri that hadn't been a real good experience for the student. And the student made comments to an individual who passed it on that their transfer to State Fair was extremely smooth and helpful. And the daughter was getting wonderful help and found it to be a really positive experience, better than the one they had previously had. And then finally, there was a student who had some financial challenges, just partly because not being full aware of the A+ program, and compliments to pulling together about 3 individuals from various departments who worked and very quickly solved that student's dilemma so that that person could get enrolled in second 12-week classes and make progress and not have to sit out for the semester. So I tell you those examples because it's people just stepping up every day to put students first, and I really appreciate it. I wanted to let you know this is a real excitement that State Fair has been chosen as the Community Partner Award recipient for the Warsaw Chamber. The Chamber has their recognitions next week on February 1st, and really it's because of the work of Kelly Asbury and her work through the Small Business Development Center with businesses there in Warsaw, but also Brad Henderson participates with the Chamber in Warsaw. And so that award will be presented, and I will be there. And Randy, I think you are going to be able to attend, and Kelly and some others, but it's on February 1st at 6 p.m. at the R Bar and Grill in Warsaw. And then in your board packet, you had a list of upcoming events. And I hope that if you have any questions about those, but you're always welcome on campus, and I thank you for your participation in our college activities and events. I would entertain any questions if you have any.
Sounds very positive. It's nice to hear those good things that people are helping our students. Okay. Next on the agenda would be Keith. Would you like to give a financial report?
I will, thank you. And I am going to share screen on a couple of things here, simply because it might be easier as I go through this. But I want to start with the investment report for the quarter ended December 31. So if you don't mind, let me share a screen and find it. So hopefully you can see that. So we did take some of our funds out of our demand account at Central Bank and transfer them to the Central Bank, Central Trust Bank, which is their fixed income investment group, to let them invest about $3.5 million into allowable securities. And to ladder those over in approximately 6-month periods or shorter for about the next year and a half as rates continue to look like they're going up. So you can see there that while rates aren't fabulous in the market we can get, they are substantially better than the demand deposit. But overall, we have $3.5 million in fixed investments, leaving us $11.2 million at the end of December. And our demand deposits are $14.775 million in total cash and in investments available. That's about a 75 to 25% ratio. Overall weighted average of about a 0.10% return on that. With the remaining 11 million invested in the bank, they have pledged assets against that of 13.2 million, or 2 million in excess. So we're sufficiently covered all the demand deposits. So just want to show you that we have done that. I'll also tell you that we have moved in the past week another $3.5 million into some additional fixed investments to give us about a 50-50 ratio of invested assets to just demand as we look at what our cash needs may be coming up. Also, given that we are laddering these to every 6 months, so we have funds rolling out of investment, we have the ability to bring more cash in if we need to. So just want to share the investment report to let you know that we are moving some funds into Central Trust Bank's fixed investment area. So let me stop sharing this screen.
Keith,
yes,
on the funds that $3.5 million that are in the brokered money, is that available if for any reason you need it?
We can cash out of them at any point if we need to.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll take whatever the market value was at that time when we came out of it, but there are no penalties for coming out of it other than just the rate at that point in time.
Okay.
I would think that the move is really good, that it's being done to move to the higher return fund, to have the entirety sitting in a demand deposit when we don't really need on 30 or 60-day notice. That full amount to get some of that still in short term, no more than 6 months. And those are actually really easily traded assets. So I think it's a very good move to have those funds invested.
Yes, that is good. Any other questions? Thank you, Keith. Okay, under board discussion, we will go into executive session here in a few minutes, but is there anything that anyone would like to bring up?
Randy, it
board
looked like
discussion?
Keith wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Would you like
I'm sorry.
would you like to see the monthly financial report as well?
Sure. I'm sorry I cut you off. Okay.
I think it's kind of an obligation here.
Okay.
Let me share my screen again and show you the December 31 comparative financial report quickly. Share this. Well, let's share. Okay, what are you all seeing?
We're not seeing it yet.
All right.
Nothing.
Okay, then let me try this again. There, I think we're good in there. So I want to update you on the comparative financial report for the month ending December 31 here. In particular, I want to bring your attention to the first line, tuition and fees, where to date our tuitions and fees are $13,368. You look at prior year was $13,600. We budgeted to be about equal last year, and if you recall, in the months leading up to this, we were running about $400,000 less than the prior year, which is about $400,000 less than budget. You'll see here that this difference, instead of being $400,000, we've actually made up some ground. And it's actually, actually a little under $300,000 in differential. So some of the work that student services done, as Dr. Anderson mentioned, our shortfall from the prior spring over spring is about half of what our shortfall was fall over fall. So we're making up some of that gap, and some of the other moves we made have stabilized the difference in our tuition and fees versus prior year and versus budget. So we are having the positive effect that we all anticipated when we did some of the moves we made and when student service doubled down some of their efforts. So I'm very happy to report that what we were working hard to make happen has happened, and we've closed the gap over where the budget is on that. So just, if anything, I wanted to call your attention to that. We're collecting some of our property taxes a little quicker than we did last year, so that's always good. And I will thank, in particular, Pettis County for that. They actually gave us a very nice, and gave us some of our December tax collections in December versus waiting until January. So that was good of them. Other than that, our expenses at about, we utilized about 46.7% of our overall budget and expenses, halfway through the year. That looks about, as I've looked back over the past history, being in that kind of 45.5 to 47.5 range at this point in the year is about where we want to be. So we're holding our expenses right in line with where I expect to be, and see those coming in pretty much right on budget. So overall, it's I think a favorable report to our funding for the year.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. Sorry I cut you off there early.
Right, I figured just want to make sure we get that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about any board discussion? All right, as I hear none.
Randy, I will just add one thing. We
Okay.
are going to begin scheduling appointments with our Missouri legislators after about the middle of February. So if you're interested, we will put those out when we get them scheduled. And if any of you want to go, we'll be glad to take whatever kind of vehicles we need to get there for all of us to go visit. So.
And I will encourage all of you that historically our our State Fair Community College relationship with our elected officials, both statewide and nationally, have been vital to many of the long-range goals that we have wanted to do. And I know the time that I've been on the board, it almost always is to our advantage. So I would encourage any of you at any time to make an effort to go and get to know our legislative friends, both at the state in Jefferson City and also in Washington, D.C. So, and if anybody can go, you could touch base with Dr. Anderson's office and we can go from there. Okay. Then next we need to have a motion and a second to go into closed session.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Jolynn?
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr. Yes. Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
I do believe because of our meeting, the way our meeting's being held, we do need to go ahead and announce the next 14 and 15 and adjourn from this meeting because we will be closing this session.
Okay. I'm sorry, you said to go ahead and announce our meeting for February 24th.
Yes.
Okay, which at this time it is scheduled to be at the Hecker Science and Allied Health Center, actually in the Thompson Conference Room. And hopefully we will be able to meet there and we won't be restricted with COVID events. But those of you that will be going off and any of our guests, again, thank you for being interested in State Fair, and we wish you well and good health.
You do need a
And-
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, we can do that. Need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Randy Eaton,
Yes.
Tim Carr. Yes. Justin Hubbs,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Richard Parker,
Yes.
Patty Wood.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to
Okay.
go ahead and close this session, and then you all have the link to the executive session in your email.
Okay. Thank you.